Muhammad Ali walked into a restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky on a warm September evening in 1960, wearing his Olympic gold medal around his neck. And the hostess looked at him like he was invisible. She looked past him, through him, like he wasn't even standing there. When Ali finally got her attention and asked for a table, she said 4 words that would change everything. "We don't serve Negroes." Ali was 18 years old. He just won a gold medal for his country at the Rome Olympics. He was being called the greatest amateur boxer in the world, and he couldn't get a hamburger in his own hometown. What Ali did next didn't make the newspapers. It didn't make history books. But the people who were there that night never forgot it. And what happened proved that a gold medal means nothing if the country you won it for won't treat you like a human being. It was September 8, 1960. Muhammad Ali wasn't Muhammad Ali yet. He was still Cassius Clay, an 18-year-old kid from Louisville who'd just come home from Rome with an Olympic gold medal hanging around his neck. He'd won it in the light heavyweight division, dominating every opponent, charming the international press, becoming America's sweetheart. The Italian newspapers called him the most beautiful fighter we've ever seen. The American press called him the future of boxing. Everyone wanted to meet him. Everyone wanted to shake his hand. Everyone wanted to be associated with the next great American champion. But Cassius Clay came home to Louisville, Kentucky. And Louisville in 1960 was still the South. Still Jim Crow. Still separate water fountains and separate entrances, and signs that said whites only in colored. The Olympic gold medal didn't change that. The international fame didn't change that. Coming home as a hero didn't change that. Because at the end of the day in Louisville, Kentucky, Cassius Clay was still a black man. And black men had their place. Cassius had been home for 3 days. He'd been to a few local events. The mayor had given him a key to the city. There had been a small parade. People had congratulated him. White people had smiled and shaken his hand and told him how proud they were. But when the cameras went away, so did the smiles. When the parade was over, Louisville went back to being Louisville. On that September evening, Cassius was with a friend from his old neighborhood, a young man named Ronnie King. They'd been walking around downtown Louisville, just enjoying the evening. Cassius was still wearing his Olympic jacket and his gold medal. He wore that medal everywhere. He'd earned it. He was proud of it. He'd beaten the best fighters in the world to get it. He'd stood on a podium while they played the national anthem and raised the American flag. He'd represented his country, and now he was home. They were hungry. They'd been walking for an hour and decided to get something to eat. There was a restaurant on 4th Street called the Country Kitchen. Nice place, white tablecloths, decent food, popular with the downtown crowd. Cassius had walked past it 100 times growing up, but had never been inside. Black folks didn't eat there. That was just understood. But tonight, wearing his Olympic gold medal, fresh off representing America to the world, Cassius thought maybe things would be different. He pushed open the door. Ronnie followed him. The restaurant was about half full, mostly white families, a few couples, some businessmen. The moment Cassius walked in, conversation stopped. People looked up from their plates. Some of them recognized him. You could see it in their faces. That's Cassius Clay, the Olympic boxer. But recognition didn't mean welcome. The hostess was a white woman in her 30s, blonde hair pulled back, red lipstick. She was standing at a podium near the entrance with menus in her hand. She saw Cassius and Ronnie walk in, saw them standing there, and she looked away, looked down at her reservation book, shuffled some papers, pretended she didn't see them. Cassius waited. Ronnie shifted uncomfortably beside him. They stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Finally, Cassius cleared his throat. "Excuse me, ma'am?" The hostess looked up. Her face was blank. "Can I help you?" Her tone was cold. Cassius smiled. That famous Cassius Clay smile. Charming, confident. "Yes, ma'am. Table for 2, please." The hostess looked at him, then at Ronnie, then back at Cassius. Her eyes landed on the gold medal hanging around his neck. She stared at it for a moment, then she said, "We don't serve Negroes." She said it matter-of-factly, like she was telling him they were out of coffee. No emotion, no apology, just a statement of policy. Cassius's smile faded. "Ma'am, I just won this medal representing the United States of America. I just came back from the Olympics. He touched the medal. I'm an Olympic champion. The hostess didn't blink. That's very nice, but we don't serve Negroes. You'll have to leave. Ronnie tugged on Cassius's sleeve. Come on, man, let's go. But Cassius didn't move. He stood there, his hand on his gold medal, looking at this woman who was telling him he wasn't good enough to eat in a restaurant in his own hometown. The restaurant had gone completely quiet. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what would happen. Cassius took a breath. So this medal doesn't mean anything to you? The hostess shifted her weight. She was getting uncomfortable. Sir, I'm just following policy. Now please leave before I call the police. Cassius nodded slowly. Okay. He turned and walked toward the door. Ronnie followed, relieved to be leaving, but Cassius stopped at the door. He turned back around. Can I ask you something, ma'am? The hostess sighed. What? Cassius walked back toward her, slowly. Everyone in the restaurant was watching. He reached up and took off his gold medal, the medal he'd worn for 3 days straight, the medal he'd been so proud of. He held it in his hand, looking at it. The gold caught the light. Olympic champion engraved on one side, Rome 1960 on the other. Cassius looked at the hostess. Then he looked around the restaurant, at all the white faces staring at him. Some of them looked uncomfortable, some looked angry, some looked curious. Cassius held up the medal so everyone could see it. I won this for America. I beat fighters from Russia, Poland, Italy, Australia. I stood on that podium and they played our national anthem. I cried when I heard it because I was so proud. His voice was strong, clear. Everyone could hear him. I came home thinking I was a hero, thinking I'd made my country proud, thinking maybe things would be different. He paused. But this medal doesn't mean anything here, does it? Because I'm still just a Negro, still can't eat where white folks eat, still can't sit where white folks sit. He looked down at the medal. So what was it all for? The restaurant was dead silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Cassius walked to the hostess podium. He set the gold medal down on it, right on top of her reservation book. You can keep this, since it doesn't mean anything anyway. He turned and walked toward the door. The hostess stared at the medal. Sir, you can't leave this here. Cassius stopped but didn't turn around. Why not? It doesn't get me a table, doesn't get me respect, doesn't make me equal. What good is it? He pushed open the door and walked out. Ronnie followed him. They walked for 2 blocks in silence. Cassius's jaw was tight. His fists were clenched. Ronnie finally spoke. That took guts, man. Cassius didn't answer. They kept walking. Then suddenly they heard someone running behind them. Wait, please wait! They turned around. It was a white man in his 50s, gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses. He was out of breath. He'd run 2 blocks to catch them. In his hand was the gold medal. You forgot this. He held it out to Cassius. Cassius looked at the medal. I didn't forget it. I left it. The man shook his head. No, you can't do that. This is yours. You earned this. Cassius's voice was bitter. Earned it for what? For a country that won't even serve me a hamburger? The man looked down. I was in that restaurant. I heard what happened, and I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of her. I'm ashamed of this city. I'm ashamed of myself for sitting there and not saying anything. He looked up at Cassius. There were tears in his eyes. But don't give up this medal. Don't let them take this from you. You earned this. You're a champion. And one day this country is going to realize what it did to you, what it did to all of you, and it's going to be ashamed. Cassius looked at him for a long moment. Then he took the medal. What's your name, sir? Robert Foster. Cassius extended his hand. Thank you, Robert. They shook hands. Robert nodded and walked away. Cassius and Ronnie kept walking. Ronnie said, You gonna keep wearing it? Cassius looked at the medal in his hand. Then he put it back around his neck. Yeah, I earned it. It's mine. But I'll never forget tonight. I'll never forget that I won this for a country that wouldn't even let me eat in a restaurant. That night became a turning point for Cassius Clay. Years later, when he'd become Muhammad Ali and one of the most famous men in the world, he would talk about that night, about what it felt like to come home as an Olympic hero and be treated like nothing, about what it taught him about America, about pride and dignity and fighting for more than just a medal. In his autobiography, Ali wrote about that experience. He said it was the moment he realized that athletic achievement wouldn't save him from racism, that being the best in the world at something didn't make him equal in his own country, that he could be a champion and still be seen as less than human. And that knowledge changed him, made him angrier, made him more determined to fight, not just in the ring, but for justice, for equality, for the right to be treated like a man. The restaurant incident was never reported in the newspapers. There were no photographs, no official record, just the memory of the people who were there. The hostess never spoke about it publicly. The restaurant changed ownership a few years later and eventually closed. But the story spread through Louisville's Black community. People told their children, their grandchildren. The story of how Cassius Clay came home an Olympic champion and couldn't get served at a restaurant. How he put his medal on the hostess's podium and walked out. How a white man ran after him with the medal because he couldn't bear to see it left behind. Robert Foster, the man who returned the medal, later became involved in the civil rights movement. He marched in Louisville in 1961. He was arrested twice for participating in sit-ins at segregated restaurants. When reporters asked him why, he said, "Because I saw what we did to Cassius Clay, and I couldn't stay silent anymore." Stories like this one deserve to be remembered. The moments when legends faced injustice and showed us what dignity looks like. The acts of courage that happened in ordinary places. If you want to hear more stories about the people who shaped an era, the moments that defined them, and the humanity that changed the world, this channel tells those stories. Because these aren't just tales about famous people, they're lessons about standing up for what's right. Muhammad Ali went on to become the greatest boxer of all time. He became a civil rights icon. He spoke truth to power. He refused to fight in Vietnam, saying, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong." He was stripped of his title, banned from boxing, faced prison time. But he never backed down. He never compromised. Because he'd learned early that a gold medal didn't make you free, that fame didn't make you equal, that the only way to change things was to fight for them. Years later, in 1996, Ali was chosen to light the Olympic torch at the Atlanta Games. He stood there, his hands shaking from Parkinson's disease, holding that torch. And millions of people around the world watched him. By then, Ali was beloved, respected, honored. The same America that had refused him service in 1960 was now celebrating him as one of its greatest heroes. When reporters asked Ali about the contrast, about how far the country had come, he was characteristically honest. "They love me now because I can't talk back no more, because I can't fight, because I'm safe." But then he smiled, that famous Ali smile. "But I'm glad I lived long enough to see it, to see change, to see progress. It ain't perfect, but it's better, and that's worth something." The gold medal from Rome 1960 is now in the Smithsonian Museum. It sits in a display case with Ali's boxing gloves, his robe, his championship belts. Millions of people have seen it, admired it, taken pictures of it. But very few of them know the story of the night Ali tried to use that medal to get a table at a restaurant in Louisville. The night he learned that achievement isn't the same as equality, that talent isn't the same as respect, that you can be a champion and still be denied your humanity. That's the Muhammad Ali story that should be told. Not just the boxer who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee, not just the activist who stood up to the government, but the 18-year-old kid who came home from the Olympics with a gold medal and couldn't get a hamburger. The kid who put that medal on a hostess's podium and walked out with his dignity intact. The kid who learned that real courage isn't what you do in the ring. It's what you do when your country tells you that you don't matter. How you hold your head up, how you keep fighting, how you refuse to let them take your pride even when they've taken everything else. Muhammad Ali kept that lesson his whole life. Every fight he fought, in the ring and out of it, was informed by that night in Louisville. Every time he spoke truth to power, every time he refused to back down, every time he insisted on being treated with respect, he was that 18-year-old kid standing in a restaurant with a gold medal around his neck, demanding to be seen as human. And eventually, finally, the world listened. Not because he won, but because he never stopped fighting. And that's the legacy that really matters.